All right, welcome back to the Disability Channel, the Today Show New York. I'm here chatting with Melanie Rivera Waldman. We had just discussed the Disability Film Challenge, which is actually coming up pretty soon this year. Register by April 4th to get involved. April 4th, disabilityfilmchallenge.com. And all of the previous films made for the challenge can be seen on their YouTube channel. So check those out as well if you need some inspiration. And this year, do you want to announce the genre that they've already say it? Yeah.
Yeah, they change the genre every year. The past couple years was documentary, mockumentary, buddy comedy. It's been horror in the past, but this year they announced that it's superheroes, which is really exciting. So new for us. I'm really excited to see what people come up with for this one because it's cool that we get to decide our own narratives and decide what we want those characters to be and say and do. So you said before that we have this opportunity to really get behind the camera and write out what we feel our characters should need and say because there's so much lacking in the world of representation for people with disabilities.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, what are the superhero stories you haven't seen before, And it doesn't have to be action. It can be drama, like someone in your real life is your own superhero, So it can be literally anything you want that has to do with superheroes. So
yeah, they give you a list when the competition starts of things that you need to incorporate, like little props. But as far as the theme goes, they gave it out early this year so people can really start thinking about it. But they do have like little lines that you have to throw in or a theme or something, but it's really easy. It's nothing that like should throw you off from what you're doing, because if you're practicing writing or practicing getting in front of the camera, this is the best way to do it.
for sure. And like Melanie said, I mean, the first film we made it was called The Housewarming, still available on YouTube. And it was like a goofy, like fun comedy. And the next thing we know, we're getting flown to LA to shoot an episode of Goliath. So it really can lead to other opportunities.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And Committed was the next film we made.
Yes.
That won the AT&T Underrepresented Filmmaker Award. And we got a cash prize, which was very lovely. And the recognition was amazing. So this challenge can lead to many other opportunities. So go for it.
And not only in film, actually, I'll say that a friend of mine, Danny Gomez, who was in it, had a modeling job last year come up, and I had no experience in modeling. I'd been in front of the camera before, but I got to jump right into the world of adaptive fashion, and it was so much fun. That was called Social Surge. It was Kickstarter made by people with disabilities for people with disabilities. So there are so many opportunities out there. You just have to be open to them, whatever comes your way.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, we were just talking about accessible fashion with Casey Marshall, who's a designer last week. So
that's
amazing.
exciting.
Yeah.
I saw a clip of it and I was like, I love that there are actually people doing the job that know what our lives are like on a day-to-day basis. I think that that's just as important as having adaptive fashion out there. That we're the ones, pushing for it and advocating for it too.
For sure. For sure. I want to switch gears a little bit and we'll sort of combine AMP camp and accessible yoga.
Perfect.
So why don't you just tell us, I know you're trained as a yoga teacher specifically for accessible yoga. So tell us a little bit about how you got interested in yoga, how you got trained, all the good stuff.
Sure. Yeah. Being a yogi goes back for me 15 years. I started it I went to summer camp growing up before I became disabled, and they had opportunities to practice yoga during camp. So as a camper first, it's great to see like the kids running around and then all of a sudden they're just exhausted. They've worn out all their energy in yoga. And then you get Shavasana too. And I was like, oh, I like this. We all get Shavasana. We get a break from our day. So that was a really great intro for me to get into yoga, practice it for years and years in college. And then I became disabled after I graduated from Rutgers. I have my BA in theater and journalism, and I was really heavily involved in the theater community. So it was like I had this huge involvement with theater and love for that first, but also just being able to, keep up with the pace of theater school And with the yoga that I was doing at the time, I hadn't had any diagnosis of my chronic illness at that time. So I was really pushing and pushing myself, which eventually led to the amputation of my right arm. I do have lupus, endometriosis, and EDS. So Ehlers-Danlos is connective tissue disorder, and it's a little tricky with yoga. But I became disabled and said to my cousin, I miss my yoga practice. I miss having that capacity, and I wasn't doing theater either. So two of my big loves were missing from my life. Yoga was my first way back into kind of finding myself, and it was like magic. I was hooked after about 2 months of doing power yoga, and I think the third month I said I want to be a teacher. I went to a local studio and said that. They were kind enough to give me a scholarship for my 200 hours, which is really generous. Yeah, it was just such a gift to be able to do that. And from there, I decided about a year later that I wanted to do accessible yoga because I started feeling the wear and tear of, going through yoga every day. My shoulder, I get injured. At EDS, you can really hurt yourself any which way. It's more about like strengthening yourself, which is a part of yoga that I incorporate into all my classes, accessible or not. So being a part of the accessible yoga community has opened so many doors for me. And I'm just seeing so many beautiful things coming from being like that symbol, the representation of what I want to see. And teaching yoga at AMP Camp was something that came later on down the line, which was amazing. Sadly, it was a year that Rachel missed. But it was great to be able to do it not only for the campers, but I invited, as I do in my normal yoga classes, I invite caretakers in. So I invited the counselors to join, and the campers, you could see the immediate effect of how cool it was to get to do yoga because some of them shared they were too afraid to do it. Mostly they would like come to me after. We didn't really have like a group share, but sometimes we do. It's basically a support group with movement is the best way that I can put it. But the campers were really into it. And what I didn't expect was that the counselors were really into it as well. And after the first week of camp, it was only 1 week. So after the 5th day, I had a counselor come up to me and say, Mel, I have been so afraid to go to a local studio because I don't know what I'm doing. And he said to me, my goal is that I'm going to go home and I'm going to go to a class and I'm going to let you know. And he did just that. He went to the studio, and it touched me on a level that was so profound and unexpected, that it has that immediate effect for people to just try it once or try it a couple times and be able to say, wait, maybe I'm the one who's standing in my own way. And I think that yoga led me back to my theater world, which led me to, think about doing Easter seals at all. Just having that confidence back within myself, like nothing has changed about me other than physically what has happened to me and my new diagnoses, which, they're day to day. We all injure ourselves with our disabilities, and sometimes we have less spoons, as people say, than most. And we have to really learn how to advocate and care for ourselves in that way. So I think it's a great teacher for me personally, but also for anybody who really is looking for that yoga connection in their life, that it's possible.
Thank you, Melanie. Yeah, that's so great to hear, because I do feel like when you don't see anybody like yourself doing an activity like performing on stage or doing yoga or strength training or whatever, it's hard to imagine yourself doing that. So
absolutely.
So appreciate you really paving the way and making that space for people with disabilities to have the space for themselves now, to have the confidence to go to a yoga class and be like, this is my body. I'm going to try this. Maybe I'll have to adapt some things. And hopefully the teachers will have more knowledge and be more aware of people with different needs. Some disabilities are very visible, like my prosthetic leg, your arm, but some are completely invisible, like my herniated discs, your lupus and EDS, So I think it's so important. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people live with invisible disabilities. So it's really, really important for, teachers in the yoga community to be aware of.
Yeah. And I was talking to you a little bit before this. My next big thing with yoga, I'm going to be trying to educate yoga teachers before I go back into teaching the community, because sometimes I get too tired to teach, or right now I'm not even teaching virtually or in person because my own health kind of came first. But to have other teachers be able to do what I do, it's not incorporated in a basic training of 200 hours. And I think that Accessible Yoga, the foundation that trained me, they were finally able to say to Yoga Alliance, who they're the one who certify you, that they want to be able to incorporate that, because technically it does fall under the ADA, the Americans with Disability Act, that there need to be accommodations made, not only in your physical space of yoga, but in the practice that you're teaching as well. So I think that that's the next big thing that I'm really passionate about. I think it holds such a significance for me to be able to not only ask for help from other teachers, but be able to pass that torch to them. And Marcia Danzig, who was the mother of yoga for amputees, sadly just passed away. So I'm really feeling the weight of what being that amputee yogi, like that's me. And I hope more amputees decide to, get certified to be personal trainers or whatever you want to be that's in physical movement, because there is such little representation. And I think sometimes it gets tricky because that's something that falls around like the inspiration porn kind of thing, is that, well, if I can do anything, you can do anything. It's like, no, do focus on yourself first.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's like those stupid posters that say like, if I can do it, you can do it. And then you've got like a wheelchair user looking at a flight of stairs. Like, there's no like miracle here that's going to make this accessible,
Yeah, so, but where's the ramp? I want the ramp.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Melanie, thank you so much for joining us. I just want to mention AMP Camp. We've mentioned it, is the Amputee Coalition's Patty Roseback Youth Camp, specifically for kids who are amputees. And we've both been counselors there, and that's where Melanie has taught some accessible yoga classes. I'm hoping it'll be able to be in person soon, but
actually, yeah, this year is in person again. I'm not going to be able to do it, sadly, but it is in person again, and they're moving to Tennessee, but it's free for counselors and campers. They fly you out, and we take care of you from the minute that you come off the plane. There's a giant group of every disability with amputees you could think of, people with wheelchairs, people who have double crutches. It is just the coolest thing watching this parade of counters and counselors go through the airport and watching everybody be like, what's going on here?
Yeah, like over 100 people with limb differences just parading through the airport. Yeah. It's incredible.
Such a sight. It's so cool. And you just it makes you feel lighter about, sometimes it's really heavy to be the one who's kind of overlooked and left out because you're disabled in your natural community. But when you do have that physically in place, I think that's why I was so passionate about what's coming next for me also is we had Limb Talks, which was on Clubhouse. It was our support group that we had. And we took a little break because we decided that we want to open it up to all disabilities. And I'm happy to announce we're coming back with a new name, which is Access Talks. So that's coming in the future.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. So Clubhouse, find Access Talks, and find you on, follow up on that, and Instagram and all the good stuff.
Well, yeah. So Access Talks is on Instagram. We were on Clubhouse. We're moving to Zoom now, so we can have recorded videos with captions. We're going to have transcripts in the future. It's going to be as accessible as we can make it. And it's myself, our friend Alex Capolini, who is learning to be an MD, and she's just such an incredible human. She writes articles all the time. She's in the New York Post. And our friend Sam Rossiello, who has a background in adaptive golf and sports. So he's going to talk about all those things, and I'm hoping to bring entertainment into that as well. So we are on Instagram. It's Access Talks, all one word. You can go ahead and follow us and find updates there. As for me, Where's Waldman, my last name with Where's, no spaces. And my website is melanieriverawaldman.com.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for joining us, Melanie. Everyone, check Melanie out online. She's amazing. And thank you for joining us again.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for having me, Rach.
My pleasure.